How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about net neutrality. This has been the humongous hashtag all over Twitter. There's been a few people that have talked about it. I agree with some, and I disagree with some. If you know anything about me, if you know about my previous stances on issues like this, you could pretty much guess where I'm going to go. But if you're new to my channel, if you just see me for the first time, or if you have not heard about my stance as it relates to things like this, well, sit down, get you something nice and cold to drink, get to eat. You're going to get a nice education, okay? Now, you see the headline of the article in front of me. We're going to go through this and pretty much address each point by point, so I'm able to get my point across. And then after that, we're going to get to a few tweets and some other stuff. But you see the headline in front of you. It says, FCC plans net neutrality repeal and victory for telecoms. Now, we'll talk about that headline in a little bit, but first we're going to get into this very short video. There is an article beneath the video, and we're going to watch that article after the video is done. I may pause this right here at certain points to give my 2 cents. So let's go ahead and watch this.
Net neutrality rules classify high-speed internet as a public utility. The goal is to ensure consumers have open and equal access to all content on the internet.
Stop right there. Now, to make sure all users have open and equal access to all content on the internet, do we not have that right now? Let's be clear. As far as I know, the net neutrality rules are not even on the books yet. They are supposed to come onto the books, just like the whole thing a few months ago. Maybe it was last year. I can't really remember. But I linked to my video in the description box. It was actually this year. It was a few months ago where they were talking about consumer privacy and stuff like that. That was part of net neutrality. It was supposed to go into effect earlier in the year, but it was stopped from going into effect. So I don't know if they're repealing something or if they're preventing it from going onto the books. I'm pretty sure it's the latter, but let's keep moving.
Here's how it works. When you download content from the internet, it arrives in packets of data. Think of the packets as literal packages. Let's say you want to watch a Netflix movie, which is 10 packages big. First you order, but before Netflix ships, those packages have to go through a sorting facility. In this analogy, that's an internet service provider, like Verizon or Comcast.
That's right.
Now, what net neutrality means is that all packages must be delivered at the same rate. And currently, there are FCC rules in place to make sure that happens.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're going to get into that because the whole thing, people just don't understand really how, the internet works, how the, what's the word I'm looking for? The infrastructure of the internet actually operates. People don't really get that at all. We're going to read this article. We're going to go through it, and then we're going to really just pick it apart piece by piece. Let's start from the beginning. The Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, announced on Tuesday that it planned to dismantle landmark regulations that ensure equal access to the internet, clearing the way for companies to charge more and block access to some websites. Now, here's the thing. If companies wanted to block access to certain websites, like your ISPs, you're talking about your Verizon, your Comcast, your Cox Communications, whatever company you pay to get your internet, if they wanted to block access to certain websites, they would have already have done it. That will already be there. It wouldn't be talking about, we need regulation to prevent that from happening. No, if they wanted to do it, if they could do it, they will already do it. But they don't. So where is this fear coming from? Who's generating this fear? Could it be some lobbyists working on behalf of Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Facebook, Google, these big companies that operate on ISPs to get lower prices for their internet usage? Maybe. I don't know. Let's keep going. The proposal put forward by FCC Chairman Ajit Pai, who is a good man, by the way, and I'll put some information about him in the description box below, is a sweeping repeal of rules put in place by the Obama administration. So before Barack Obama, you just had ISPs out here blocking random websites left and right. Is that right? I didn't hear about any of that before 2009 when he came into office. I didn't hear about any of that. Did you? But let's keep going. The rules prohibited high-speed internet service providers from blocking or slowing down the delivery of websites or charging extra fees for the best quality of streaming and other internet services for their subscribers. Those limits are essential to the concept called net neutrality. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and explain this because I know that they're going to talk about this a lot in the article. With cell phone contracts, when you get a cell phone contract and they say, okay, it's unlimited 4G, LTE, whatever the highest speed is, right? And the fine print, what does it say? It says once you get to a certain level of data, they're going to slow down your data. Okay, maybe it goes from 4G to 3G. That's what they're going to do. And why did they do that? The answer is because if they allow the very small portion of people go above that cap they put on it before it gets throttled to a lower speed. They know that because they do studies. They can look at your profile. They can look at your bill and see how much data you're using. They can look at everybody's bill. They probably got it all in one system. And then they see where 99% of people are. And then they look at the 1% of very high users and say, okay, let's put the line of demarcation right here. And like right here, you see it on the screen. If you go above that line of demarcation with your internet usage, your bandwidth usage, which is a finite resource, we'll get to that in a little bit. If you use more than that, you're going to get throttled. Your service, your ability to access the internet is going to be lower. Not the people who you are calling or whatever, who's on the other end of the communication, not them, but you. In this case, we're talking about net neutrality. The you is going to be Amazon. The you is going to be Netflix, Hulu, Facebook, Google, all these big behemoth companies that use a lot of internet data. If the ISPs do not throttle their internet usage, what happens is you end up paying more because it's a finite resource. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I just want to keep the article going. The action immediately reignited a loud and furious fight over free speech and the control of the internet, pitting telecom giants like AT&T against internet giants like Google and Amazon, who warn against powerful telecom gatekeepers. Both sides are expected to lobby hard in Washington to push their agendas, as they did when the existing rules were adopted. Well, I'm glad that this article is admitting that the companies who are in favor of net neutrality also have lobbyists. Okay, I'm glad they admitted that. So shout out to, New York Times. Shout out to them for admitting that. Yes, they have lobbyists because net neutrality is going to help them. Their companies are lobbying for to get lower rates on their internet usage. It's very simple. And the whole thing about free speech is not even, is totally bogus, because when you're talking about the internet in any place that restricts free speech, what are we talking about? Are we talking about Verizon? Have you ever heard of Verizon censoring speech? Or is it companies like Facebook? Is it companies like Google? Is it companies like the infamous Twitter? Okay, it's the private web-based companies on the internet that are engaged in this whole free speech debates. People getting banned because they support the alt-right and stuff like that. The ISPs ain't worried about that. The ISPs are worried if you break any kind of laws, if you're doing copyright infringement or some felony, drugs or something like that, maybe they'll get involved at that point by cooperating with the FBI, handing over documents, whatever they have, which isn't much. It's not even as much as what Facebook and Google would have, but I digress. Let's get back to the article. Under my proposal, the federal government will stop micromanaging the internet, Mr. Pai said in a statement. That's Ajit Pai, who is against net neutrality. He is the current FCC chair. Instead, the FCC would simply require internet service providers to be transparent about their practices so that consumers can buy the service plan that's best for them, and entrepreneurs and other small businesses can have the technical information they need to innovate. Yes. Now, what he means by service plan is the same way it is right now. You can buy certain tiers of internet that do not include certain access to certain websites. That's not how that works. You get the low internet, which is like a certain speed, the higher internet, and then higher and higher. Each package has a different level of speed. I have the top level of speed, therefore I pay the top price. It's really just that simple. That's how it's supposed to work. It doesn't work like, okay, you get this package with this in it. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find this GIF or this JPEG image. Like this right here. This is totally bogus. Why we must save net neutrality. And then if you're not watching this, if you're just listening to me talk, there is an image with a lot of text and some graphics. Under the headline I just read, it has net neutrality on the left, the header, and underneath that it has a building of an ISP, and to the right of that it has what would come through an ISP. And It has four things: video, email, gaming, social media. And then it goes down to a funnel, which goes to like a house graphic. And above that, it says all one price, $54.99 a month. And then you have one that's the same as one above, but it says no net neutrality. And next to the video, email, gaming, social media, it has prices of a package you would get for each thing. But that's not how it would work. That doesn't make any sense at all. They're talking about video, $17.99 a month package, and then Netflix, $8.99 a month. The ISPs are not in the business of charging you for private website access. That has never happened. Why would they do it? Because the thing about net neutrality is that, first of all, the rules are not even really on the books, not all of them. And if they are on the books, then what was stopping people from doing that before? I didn't hear about your ISP charging you for access to any particular website before Barack Obama came with net neutrality. So why would they all of a sudden do it now? It doesn't make any sense. Let's get back to the article so we can go ahead and finish, sauteing that on up. The proposal from Mr. Pai, a Republican, is widely expected to be approved during a December 14th meeting and a 3-2 party line vote from the agency's 5 commissioners. But some companies will probably put up a legal fight or actions by lawmakers to prevent from taking hold. Of course, multi-million-dollar companies like Google, Facebook, Twitter, any company that uses a lot of data, a lot of the ISP's resources are going to put up a legal fight. They have lawyers. That's their actual job, is to make sure that they pay the lowest amount of money possible. They have fiduciary responsibility, talking about the CEOs. That's what they're there for. That doesn't mean just because they're fighting that it's a good fight for you, the consumer. But let's keep going. The clear winners from the move would be the giant companies that provide internet access to phones and computers, which have fought for years against broadband regulations. I mean, that's true, but it's halfway true. We as a consumers also win, because if we meaning us and the ISPs lose in this case, if net neutrality is allowed to go forward, what that means for you, the common citizen, is that the cost that Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, Google, Facebook, etc. would have to pay for maybe like a fast lane as it relates to ISP usage, or for their exorbitant ISP usage, so much so that a company like Netflix at a certain point may use one third of all bandwidth in the USA. Using that kind of bandwidth, they wouldn't pay anything extra or have their service throttle at all. But just a regular normie out there on Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever, they have their service throttle on a cell phone contract once they go above a certain amount in their data. How was that fair? So if they don't want to pay for the actual bandwidth, which is a finite resource, I was about to say that because I'm not sure they're going to get to that in this article. I'm going to say it right now. Bandwidth is the key here. It's a finite resource. It has to be physically pushed through wires. It's the same thing like electricity. Okay. So they're trying to make it be like a utility, water, or whatever, but it's not. You need to have all kind of resources created to generate bandwidth to be able to get bandwidth from point A to point B. It's that simple. And the more bandwidth you have going through a space, the more physical space it takes up. So at a certain point, you got to have restrictions on the amount of bandwidth going through there if you have one company or entity using a lot of it. So let's say, for example, this is where the bandwidth comes through. Okay. Most of it, like let's say this much, is being taken up by Netflix. The rest, which is from here to here, is for you. How is that fair when you're taking up all of that and you get this little bit and y'all are paying the same? Like, they need to either help as far as paying extra money, the fast lane thing that Tom Wheeler recommended, which is a whole different story, and I'm never going to go into that, so you can put more money into the ISP so they can build more infrastructure to be able to get bandwidth from A to B, or you need to have your bandwidth reduced. It's just that simple. Or you raise your prices over at Netflix, make up the difference, which is what they're going to do anyway. I think I saw an article that said that they're raising their prices $15 a month next month. And if I can find that, I'll put it on the screen before you, also in the description box below. A repeal of the rules would allow the companies to exert more control over the online experiences of American consumers. That's not even really true. Like the online experience as it is right now is controlled by the big web companies. Your Facebook, Google, your favorite websites control your experience more than anything else. The ISP is there to provide the access to the internet, not to curate the experience. Big online companies like Amazon say that telecom companies would be able to show favoritism in certain web services by charging for accessing some sites but not others, or by slowing the connection speed to some sites. Small online companies say the proposal would hurt innovation. Only the largest companies, they say, would be able to afford the expense of making sure their sites receive preferred treatment. So you got big and small companies saying it's going to hurt them. You got the small companies saying it's going to hurt them in favor of the big companies, and the big companies say it's going to hurt them in favor of the ISP. Everybody's just passing the buck. At the end of the day, if ISPs wanted to show favoritism, they would have already have done it. This wouldn't be a if then type thing. You will already know that that's happening. But again, they're not in the business of doing that. It's just not what it is. And consumers, the online companies say, may see their costs go up to get quality access to popular websites like Netflix. Yes, because Netflix is charging too little for their service, $10 a month. And you're talking about 1/3 of all the bandwidth in the United States. Come on. Their business model is not profitable. That's not my fault. That's not your fault. Why should I have to feel like I need to subsidize Netflix with a higher per month bill on my internet? Maybe I don't want Netflix. I don't have Netflix. So why should I have to pay for it anyway? That's what's going to happen, because if they are allowed by the government through force, by regulation, by the police, whatever, to make the ISPs give them access unfettered to their resources without paying the appropriate amount of money or without being throttled at all, what happens is you make up the difference in the cost, because like I said, bandwidth, finite resource, and it's got to come from somewhere, and it's money behind it. It's all kind of technology. You got power, you got all kind of stuff that has to go into manufacturing essentially, or producing bandwidth. So if Netflix don't want to pay their fair share, if they don't want to get throttled, you got to pay for it. And it won't come from your subscription. It's going to come from your cable bill. If you have, or your internet bill, pardon me, not your cable bill. If you have internet, it'll come out of you. It don't matter if you have the lowest one or the highest one, you got to pay. The action represents the end of net neutrality as we know it, and defies the will of millions of Americans, said Michael Beckerman, chief executive of the Internet Association, a lobbying group that represents Google, Facebook, Amazon, and other tech firms. The Internet Association, you're just a big lobbying firm. Like I said, they got lobbyists. They know what it is. They're just trying to save money. That's all. So they can keep giving you free services with little intrusion, or very cheap services like Netflix, Hulu, etc. But Mr. Pai said the internet rules were adopted to stop only theoretical harms. Exactly. It's only in theory would the ISPs do that. It doesn't make any sense for them to do that, because there's more competition amongst ISPs than there is amongst the big super giant tech companies or web companies. Like, how many Netflixes are there? When you're talking about Google at this point is a verb. 90% of all internet search comes through one website, whereas Verizon only has about 35% of, I think, the mobile bandwidth. So, they have much more competition amongst ISPs than there is amongst big, giant internet companies. He said the old rules limited consumer choice and stifle investment in network expansion and upgrades, exactly like I said earlier. He has also argued that the existing internet rules stop internet service companies from experimenting with new business models that can help them compete with online businesses like Netflix, Google, and Facebook. Yes. Because what if Verizon Wireless wants to come out with their own social media, their own social network, okay? But then there's already regulations on what they're able to do with that social network. Whereas with Facebook, Google, etc., there are no such restrictions. So therefore, you already stifling innovation. You are stifling competition. And competition is what makes all these companies on the internet better. Many of us on the conservative side say the only thing that can tighten up some of the draconian rules on Facebook, Google, etc., is a competent competitor. Now, how are you going to have a competent competitor without the resources behind it to battle a multi-billion-dollar company in Alphabet, which hosts Google, or Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, or Twitter, or something like that? Okay, you're putting rules in the books to try and prevent these big companies from being competed with. which is exactly what the lawyers and the lobbyists for these companies want. That's what I'm saying. The plan to repeal the existing rules passed in 2015 also reverses a hallmark decision by the agency to declare broadband as a service essential as phones and electricity. That move created the legal foundation for the current rules and underscored the importance of high-speed internet service to the nation. It was put in place by Tom Wheeler, an FCC chairman under President Obama. Of course, he's been replaced by Mr. Ajit Pai, who is better than Tom Wheeler. And I think Tom Wheeler was the FTC chairman, if I'm not mistaken. But now he was the FCC chair, or he was a lobbyist or something like that. I digress. I'm going to put information about him in the box. Mr. Pai signaled his intention to dismantle the existing rules in April. The action on Tuesday by Mr. Pai, who was appointed chairman by President Trump, is a centerpiece of a deregulatory agenda that has also stripped television broadcasters, newspapers, and telecom companies of a broad range of regulations meant to protect the public interest. According to them, the telecom companies on Tuesday cheered Mr. Pai's proposal. The removal of antiquated, restrictive regulations will pave the way for broadband network investment, expansion, and upgrade, said Jonathan Spalter, the chief executive, U.S. Telecom and Industry Lobbying Group. But consumer advocacy groups and the Democratic lawmakers, that tell you what's going on right there, the Democratic lawmakers like Bernie, talking about, once again, the Trump administration sides with big money and against democracy. If this passes, the internet and its free exchange of information as we have come to know it will cease to exist. Hashtag net neutrality. So that's old man crazy Bernie talking to you right there. So if nothing else will convince you that net neutrality is not a good thing, that right there should, if you are somebody that does not really associate with democratic socialists. But I digress. We're almost done with the article here. But consumer advocacy groups and Democratic lawmakers said the move would harm consumers and internet businesses that have relied on the rules to ensure all content is equally available and to make sure that speech is not stifled by broadband companies putting up barriers to certain internet sites. Again, who's stifling speech and who is not? I've never heard about Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, or any other ISP trying to regulate speech. It's only these big giants who now saying, trust me, net neutrality is good. It's going to be good for you. Meanwhile, if you post some dank meme on Twitter, you might get banned. But now they want to tell you, oh, nah, trust us, believe us. Come on. Consumer groups say broadband companies have been incredibly profitable under the net neutrality rules and have expanded their networks into new communities and with faster speeds, despite complaints, the rules hamper their businesses. Your internet service provider will be free to make online fast lanes and favor the content of its choice, said Gigi Sohn, a former senior advisor for Mr. Wheeler at the FCC. It's funny how Tom Wheeler was the one that proposed the whole fast lanes thing, but I digress. That it will take away your control of your internet experience and give it to Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon. Okay, this is totally a false thing. Now, I know the comments are lit up right now. I know there's going to be some good ones in there. The problem with net neutrality is the simple fact that it, first of all, gives the government too much regulation into the internet, because now you're starting to pick winners and losers. When you say that the telecoms, the big companies, when you say that the ISPs or any company that owns an ISP, I guess, when you say they can't do any kind of innovation into social media, into a streaming service or anything like that without already existing rules, you're giving them a disadvantage to the big companies that already exist. You're not allowing for free and open competition. And this whole thing, this fear mongering campaign about, oh, well, they could just throttle your access to certain websites. No, the throttling only would come against the actual company who is trying to lobby for net neutrality. Netflix, that's why they keep talking about that. I wonder how much money Netflix paid their lobbyists to get Netflix mentioned in all these stories. I wonder, do you think it's just by happenstance they keep getting mentioned as like the poster child for this whole thing? Is it a coincidence? I mean, come on. Netflix has lawyers just like every other company, and they're going to fight for their clients' best interests. The best interests of Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Facebook, Twitter is to have net neutrality because that lets them pay lower amounts of money for the internet usage. And it also removes the throttling aspect when they go above a certain data cap. Netflix has been given so many different things by these ISPs, direct throughputs, crazy data caps, all kind of stuff. But Netflix keeps going above and beyond and above and abusing it and abusing it and abusing it. But they always want more. They always want more. What more do you want from me? Screams the ISP. I wasn't even trying to rap, but it just happened to rhyme. What more do you want? Now, not only do they want the special privileges they already get by being these big behemoth companies that bring a lot of money, I suppose, to the ISP. Not only do they want that, now they want to have government regulation to make the ISP give them more. Okay, so this is not even really about you or me as it relates to the fight. However, the result of the fight will affect you and me. The result of the fight, if it goes in favor of net neutrality, what's going to happen is you'll keep getting your nice, pretty Netflix. You might even get it in 4K HD, stream, 4K 60, all of that, straight to your mobile device, even though that'd be overkill. But anyway, you'll get all of that for $10 a month. Great deal, right? But then you look at your bill for your internet access, all of a sudden it's gone up. All of a sudden, the lower tier that was available for like older people, whatever, keep in touch with their grandkids, that's gone. You might be able to get $20 a month for internet. Nah, $50 minimum now. And your bill that was $100 for your super high speed internet, it's $150 now, maybe $200. Because the money to pay for what Netflix and other big behemoth internet companies want must come from somewhere. It'll come from your pocket. So that's pretty much all I got to say. I know this is going to be a hot button issue. I know I get a lot of comments, but please leave me your comments in the comment section below. I'll be sure to read all of them, even if you're triggered, butthurt, upset, whatever you want to call it. But give me your comments in the box. Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree with what I said? Do you think there's more to be said? Do you think I'm missing anything? Have I been too simplistic with my explanation? Whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.